So the advisory board for Spatial is actually quite an interesting thing to be involved in. The opportunity to get a view across a European project with a bunch of partners working on something that is kind of socio-technical is quite nice. There's a lot of work in AI at the moment that is all about policy, legal and regulatory and ethics only, without the technical. And there's quite a lot of work that's very interesting technically, but is operating in a regulatory, legal, kind of ethical vacuum. So this is one of the projects that I've seen a few where these concerns are all up front, so that the mixture of the technical work and being informed by a socioeconomic aspects of things, ethical considerations, is really there. And of course it's always interesting to come across the channel to mainland Europe. So a good thing about the project, in the Spatial project, is that they've driven the thing from use cases, and the use cases have been pretty well chosen to cross different dimensions of the problem space. So I think some of the privacy preserving approaches in federated learning are somewhat mainstream now, but that's kind of led by Telefonica, and that's appropriate because that's something that industry, they want something that's pretty much ready and many people agree is a good approach to things. Whereas some more adventurous things in terms of sort of future looking, some of the other use cases, but I think that's that will just have different timescales of impact. Those things will play out. Some of them will be nearer term, like federated learning with differential privacy or other privacy preserving techniques is pretty much going mainstream. It's really useful, it's low cost, it doesn't take crazy amounts of resource, and it delivers useful stuff. So that's the sort of thing we'll see applications of that make money or do useful things in society. Some of the other work you may see 2, 5 or 7 years out. we were talking earlier in a panel about careers in AI, and I think one of the problems right now is that we are absolutely at the peak of a hype cycle, and that's masking the fact that there's a lot of solid work and then there's a huge amount of hyped work. So it would be really hard for things to stay alive through this peak of a hype, largely LLMs and a small number of companies trying to boost their shareholder value or whatever, or their acquisition prices. Whereas there's a lot of techniques that are just moving along in, another example technically I think is anything that's explainable AI, any XAI technique that's in use, which will just be high impact, because anyone that cares about legal liability or safety will literally make it a requirement in any contract for any system that is explainable or interpretable, and so I think that could have an impact. The techniques in use there do not scale up to LLMs, but we don't care, because those aside, they're not the tools in use in Spatial. The sort of AI tools, techniques that are being used are amenable to explainability, and I think contributing to that as a good way forward in principle in almost any AI domain that includes anything that affects people economically or health or any of the other areas is sort of not negotiable. It has to happen. So I think that's a thing where the approach could have an impact over the next 2+ years. I think it will be seen as, everyone will just be adopting that as an approach, and other things that can't be held to that standard will likely not get used in real cases. They may be used for creating fan fiction in science fiction books, but not anything that really matters.